Welcome back to another episode of the Tommy Brideson Show. Now, today I want to talk specifically about why perfectionism and trying to have a perfect plan on paper is likely the thing that's slowing down your progress in the gym and in life. Now, thinking back over, the last 10 or 20 years, I cannot think of a time that was ever perfect to launch anything, whether that's your training journey, whether that's a business idea, whether it's a nutrition plan. It's very rare that you're going to have all your ducks lined up in a row when you execute something. So I think when we're looking at training, the biggest thing that you want to be doing is actually training. You want to be fueling your training. You want to be showing up to the gym consistently and doing the work. But if you're paralyzed by the fact of, you need to have a perfect plan on paper, it's going to slow down the rate of your progress, because momentum and, getting stuck into things and really sort of just pushing forward is the thing that's going to, change the trajectory for you. Now, think about this, like I've got a small kid, I've got a second kid on the way. And my training at the moment, I'm only training 3 weight sessions a week and I'm doing 3 cardio sessions as well. But in an ideal world, I would be doing 4 to 5 weights training sessions. But for me, if I was paralyzed by, not having a perfect plan, I wouldn't be going to the gym at all. So you've got to really make those trade-offs and go, hey, well, would I rather be moving forward, even though it's not a perfect plan? Would I be rather, ticking off the goals and showing up and putting in the work, or would I rather just not do anything? So often when we're looking at, say starting a training journey is, every program that you're going to do is going to help in some way. If you're doing high reps, you're going to build some muscle mass. If you're doing lower reps, you're going to build some strength. And, where you sit in this journey is going to change over time. So really, at no point in time is there ever a perfect plan for you, because your goals change. The path that you're taking may also then, verge into different areas. Now, if you look at, what I'm about and what I enjoy talking about the most is nuance of things. I'm a details person. I love the details of training. I love the details of technique, fueling your training with the, good nutrition. But the reality is, I would much rather someone show up and do the work and just jump into training than I would to have a perfect plan on paper and never execute anything. So, there is a time that you've got to, show up and essentially do the work. And there's a time that you've just got to sort of switch your brain off and just get in and start getting moving, because momentum is the thing that's actually going to drive you forward. Like you might come into the gym, for instance, and, say you have been training exclusively for strength for, the better part of 2 years. And then you go, you know what, I'm kind of done with that for now. I want to take a break. And you find the perfect bodybuilding program and you go, okay, I'm just going to dive into that. But that program that you've, downloaded or you've purchased off someone may be way too advanced for you. So you would just be better off going into the gym and actually getting a few constructive sets in, higher volume, and really acclimatize yourself to the stimulus of bodybuilding so that you can handle more load, that then you can continue to push forward. So it's this continuum where when you look at the nuances of a training program, you've got training splits. What's the perfect split? Upper, lower? Is it a squat day, deadlift day, bench day, and, combined day? Is it full body sessions? And you can argue the nuances, every single day about every single detail in a training program. But the reality is it doesn't really matter, because the effort that you put into the actual training sessions itself and, you showing up and doing the work is the thing that actually gets the results at the end of the day. I could argue that 6 reps is better for, hamstring training than 12 reps for hamstring training, because the hamstrings have more type 2 muscle fibers, so they're more explosive. But the reality is, if you're actually training your hamstrings and you're training them hard enough and you're getting them close enough to failure, you're going to build muscle in your hamstrings. So, we're playing with nuances here, but that's the real gem about training is as you get better and as you get that momentum and you start to stack up your training wins, what ends up happening is you will then just become more efficient in what you do, because you go, okay, when, say for instance, when I do squatting, if I don't, a common thing is warming up your legs and warming up your knees and warming up your joints. If I don't do my leg extensions and my hamstring curls, my knees hurt. So then by default, because of your training momentum, you're going to progress your training because you've identified something along the way, but you never would have identified that unless you actually started and gotten into it and built a significant amount of muscle mass, built some strength to actually go, hey, I've hit a roadblock or there is a problem and I need to figure out a solution. So that's the whole thing that comes with building momentum and getting wisdom in your training is, you know, you're never going to have all the answers at the start. So you may as well just start. And even if you do things completely wrong, who cares? Because, you know, showing up and training and, you know, putting the effort to sort of moving forward is always actually going to trump anything. And I think, you know, very much from the way that I speak, I'm talking about technique and I'm talking about the things that are going to help with your lifting. But the reality is, at the end of the day, if someone said to me, man, I literally don't know what to do. I am stuck with my training technique. I'm stuck with my training program. Where do I start? Just start somewhere in the middle. Don't do too much training volume. Don't do too much training intensity. Pick a middle point and come in and just start training. And once you start ticking the boxes and you start winning, that's when you start to make things a little bit more nuanced and you start to really dial in on your technique. Now, at the facility that I work at, you know, a lot of the lifters that come in here have actually gotten their training wheels off already. So they've done small group training. You know, they may have done some challenges where they've done some weight loss challenges, and jumped around a few, you know, different gyms and facilities. And, you know, they come in here ready to learn. So that's why we are a very nuanced gym. And a lot of the content that I speak to is speaking to people that, you know, they're already in the gym. They're already active. They've already got a part of their lifestyle, whether they've come from sort of a recomp position, whether they've come from a bodybuilding or a strength. So they've come in with a goal and they know exactly sort of what they want to get out of training. So those people are really great because you can go, okay, well, let's remold how you look at things. Let's rework how you do things. And let's set you up with a new training system, with a new set of processes so that you can continue to execute. And, you know, and by doing that, you'll end up making more training progress long term. But that's not everyone's start point. And also, when we're making those changes, we're not throwing 100 changes in at a time because that would just paralyze the person. Like imagine me saying to you like, okay, so we need to work on your squat, but I want you to think about your knee, your ankle, your big toe, your left elbow, and your right ear. It just doesn't really make sense. You're just going to get paralyzed by your thoughts and being like, hey, like, what do I even do with this? Like, I don't know how to execute any of it. So, you know, it's one of those things that momentum always trumps everything. Now, if you looked at it from like a training and nutrition standpoint as well, you know, you could argue which type of diet is better, you know, carnivore, keto, omnivore, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if someone comes in and they're like, hey, I really want to make some changes to my diet, I really want to make some changes to my body composition, you would start off by simply setting energy balance, being like, okay, so what do you currently eat? Okay, can we get a log of what you're eating for, you know, 2 weeks? And once you've got that log, we can then start to shape what the food choices you make are, how many calories you take in a day, and then how you sort of distribute that in terms of food groups, food types, et cetera, et cetera. So you're not going to come in and go, okay, well, this is the only diet plan that's going to work for me. You have to go keto. I only want you to have, you know, 20% of your diet through protein, blah, 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 because the person's never going to stick to that actual plan. So you're setting someone up for failure by, you know, making sure that the plan is perfect, when in reality, there is no such thing as perfect. There's just layers to progress. And that's the thing that, you know, anyone that's been training for a significant amount of time realizes is you can pivot whenever you want and you can change direction whenever you want. And it's really just what you're focused on at any point in time that matters. So if you're a beginner in the gym, just get in and start training, get moving, because quite often you'll figure out what you like just through elimination. You might be like, you know, when I do high volume programs, I just feel beat up and I feel like I need to sleep all the time. It's not conducive to my life. Where someone might come in and go, I feel really strong training when I do heavy deadlifts and heavy squats. So for them, they're always, you know, at that stage of their training journey, going to want to have some strength-based movements in there because it makes them feel good. So starting and getting into, you know, the gym is the most important factor because you will figure it out as you go. Like, fun fact about me is, like, I used to do long distance running, and, you know, before and then after that, I went through a journey and I was training for strength because I liked how it felt. It was a really fun way to train. And, you know, I had a lot of like neural drive, a lot of neural strength, and I was never big. but I could move a decent amount of weight. And, I remember saying like, hey, I'm never going to be a powerlifter. I will never be a powerlifter. But you know what? Someone was like, it was my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, but my wife now was like, how about you jump, like we go and do a powerlifting comp together? And I was like, I don't really want to identify as a powerlifter as such, but jumping into it, I was like, hey, like that was really fun. I put up some great numbers and then I went down a pathway of powerlifting for, 5 or 6 years. But now my journey's changed. I'm out of that. And it doesn't mean that I don't love and, get around the sport. Like we still host competitions. My gym is hugely set up for strength training. So, I still love the sport, but my personal journey right now is not powerlifting. I'm in a recomp and a health phase and building muscle phase. So my journey has changed, but I'm not going to get paralyzed and bogged down by the details of having a perfect plan on paper. Anyone that's got a newborn understands that, things happen that are outside of your control, right? In terms of sleep, in terms of, managing your energy and stuff like that. So, for most people training, you need some sort of flexible plan that's going to allow you to, undulate it as need be. Now, this also isn't just an excuse for not training hard. It's just saying that a perfect plan on paper is only a perfect plan if it can be executed to the T. There has to be some variance in the way that you train. There has to be some ability for you to make changes as your goals change as well. And, the biggest thing is, with anything, whether it's nutrition, whether it's conditioning, whether it's building muscle, whether it's building strength, there's always more to learn. There's always layers. There's always technical components. There's always better programming. And the thing is, it's just starting. Building the momentum will actually open up the access to those different types of thinking, those different types of programs, and also access to different people within your network as well as you pivot and shift your way through it. So I think it's really important to note, wherever you are in your training journey, don't get bogged down by the details. The details definitely matter, but don't be bogged down by perfectionism, because it honestly will slow down your progress in the gym and in life. Now that's it for today's episode. I'll see you guys in the next one.